the same thing, is that we use the cameras that are in this room simply to televise, not to have me or you or Commissioner McGarity or any of us here to suggest or to try to influence the zoning board. They are an independent adjudicative body, and they should be. Whether there have been times over the years I've disagreed, there's times I agree with their decisions. That's life. That's people disagree with us, and I simply think that there is a significant difference between saying turn on the cameras and somehow we're influencing it. When we make a vote to appeal or take a decision to common pleas court, that is a completely different dynamic, and I just think in this case it doesn't make sense.
It would have been terrific if this was the kind of robust debate that could have taken place a month ago, but it didn't. I watched the meeting. I watched the meeting 20 minutes before I came in here so that I didn't say anything stupid or exaggerate it. Or I came in here with the goal of repealing this thing because I watched it within an hour of this meeting and said we did not mean to do that. We went way too far there. Now, if the idea was we wanted to pass, if we came back a month later after asking Mr. Byrne to tell us, A, legally, and B, in the back of the room, give us advice as our counsel as to whether or not this was a good idea to do. We could have then drafted a very carefully worded resolution about how, with the interest of not requiring them to be worried about budgetary issues, we let them know that this is available if they want it. Some kind of language like that, but that's not what happened here. We had a debate, a quick debate, a couple people, very clearly, Mr. Siegel, you said, I am not taking down my motion, even though there was a suggestion that we wait a month while Mr. Byrne evaluate this. So that's my problem, because the tone, what people said and what was passed last week will be used by some council later to argue that the zoning board is not independent of the township, or better yet, the township is not honoring the independence of the zoning board. That's my concern. Repeal that, come back, do something that's much more sterile than what was done last week. The zoning board is hearing these things. They're hearing what people are saying. They're hearing what each one of these commissioners is saying. But we have to be really careful about official actions that we take. The resolution was official, and the debate leading up to it is permanently on the record. I'm just trying to fix it. I think it's a problem that needs fixing. I'll defer to our solicitor to advise us either here in front of everybody or in an executive session as to tell us what's best, to leave that resolution out there or to repeal that resolution.
Sure. I disagree with Mr. Siegel, and I do agree with him in a way. Clearly agree with Larry Holmes. In my opinion is I think they should televise the meetings. But I agree with what the points that Commissioner Holmes made. My suggestion would be that we repeal this and have our solicitor possibly talk to the zoning board solicitor and make it clear to them that if they want to do that, they certainly can come to us if they need funds, which probably they will need the funding to do that. I don't know what the cost would be, but
I mean, I can answer the funding
Yeah.
question. It's very simple. If you want me to do that?
Yeah, you can answer
I
the
mean,
funding question.
If I figured out maximum, the zoning board meets on an average twice. And
Twice a month.
twice a month. You got to remember what you see, the gentlemen, when we have them here, it's double on the back end. So when we're recording, you have to also take the time to do the computer work to get it into the format, to get it on YouTube and so on and so forth. About 110 hours a year. It's under $2,500. It would be extremely minimal, and how that would be funded is through every year when we do our fees. We would add the fee in for the zoning from when people apply.
Right.
That's how it would be funded. So it would
Well,
not be an impact on the operating.
my recommendation is for the solicitor to speak with the solicitor from the zoning board and present that to them. You're right, your suggestion there.
Mr. Wexler.
I'm confused. It's an open meeting. We make the decision on whether we're going to pay the $25 estimated dollars to fund it. You yourself took advantage of a publicly televised zoning amendment hearing, not a Board of Commissioners meeting, to use it for the work. I have people that can't make it here. I have people in wheelchairs, senior citizens that don't have transportation, people with eye issues at night. They watch these proceedings more than I ever dreamed anybody would watch them. They're interested not only in the Board of Commissioners meeting, but the Planning Commission and the Zoning Hearing Board. The Zoning Hearing Board impacts neighborhoods. I think they have a right to do it. Larry, I agree with you most of the time, but you're so far out in left field on this that this would duly influence the way they conduct their business by having an open meeting openly televised.
Mr. Wexler, what are you going to do? That's not what I said at all. What are you going to do if they say no?
Yes, you did.
What are we going to do as a board if they say no?
They're making it a closed meeting in my simple mind.
I know, but
I mean, that's
I'm
what you're
asking
telling
right
me,
now.
that they have the
No,
ability
I'm
to
asking
take
you
an
right
open
now,
meeting and shut it
Commissioner
down.
Wexler, what will you ask this board to do if the zoning board says no?
I don't, it's an open meeting. I don't think they get a
if I
choice.
may.
If we fund it, if we pay the technical staff to fund to film an open meeting for public display of our citizens, so that, for convenience of those that can't get here, just like you couldn't get here 2 weeks ago, I don't see any violation. Other
Mr.
townships,
Solicitor, can we order the zoning board to televise their meetings?
I don't think you can.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
that
that,
simple.
I think you've got to take a look at what the law says, and I think at 906C, it says that the zoning hearing board implements its own practices and its own policies with respect to the hearing, and I would think that the extension of that is how they're going to videotape it, how they're going to, how they're going to handle it. We may really, I mean, be arguing over something that, we don't really need to argue over. I did take the liberty of calling the zoning board solicitor and said to him, there is some interest and the board would like to see the the board had some suggestions or some requests that zoning hearing board be televised. But it's your decision, zoning hearing board. You tell us, what do your guys think about that? And they said they're discussing it now. So my thoughts are that they may very well come back and say, we want to do this.
Yeah.
And
However-
then we'll just be,
But we're not forcing them.
we're not forcing, we
Right.
should, I think you should
I don't
stay.
think we're
away-
forcing them right now.
Appearances
said
that we're
this- I
forcing
said
them to
this
do
last-
something.
Let the solicitor
I
speak.
said this last week, and I'll say it again, because I don't think that it's as little of an issue as some people might think it is. I've been in zoning cases where lawyers got up and said, this zoning hearing board is just a puppet of the Board of Commissioners, just an extension of the Board of Commissioners, not this Haverford, but this zoning hearing board. And when a Board of Commissioners is making policies and procedures for the zoning hearing board, which they're clearly prescribed to do under the rules, then I do think you're cutting into their domain, and that argument may get some tread. And some court may say, you're right, the zoning hearing board's here, but they're just doing exactly what the Board of Commissioners.
So Jim, let me just get this straight. First of all, somebody from the audience can come into this meeting and tape the meeting. Am I correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, so the public can come in, and how does that differ from us paying somebody to sit in the corner and run a camera, and how does that?
It differs great.
It differs.
I'm just asking a question, please.
Where
a
it
great
differs is that somebody can come in and videotape a public meeting, but the guy who's in charge of the public meeting can then say, look, under our policy, you can videotape it, but you've got to go sit over in that corner and not shine that light in my eyes, and so that the chairman of the zoning hearing board at that time is still in charge. Even though somebody might be allowed to come in and do it, the zoning hearing board is still in charge. It's not somebody telling him how they're going to do it. And what I get afraid of here is if we as a Board of Commissioners dictate to the zoning hearing board, we want your hearings televised, then it takes away the authority that they were given under Section 906C, makes us putting in a step that we don't have authority to do, and then it just leads to the why have that argument? Like, I don't know why we would give that argument up to some.
So you're recommending that we repeal this ordinance? You think that we should?
I think last month I didn't think we should have adopted that ordinance at first. I mean, that was my advice last month, and my advice hasn't changed. I looked over the ordinances, and my advice is still the same. I don't think we should be passing resolutions telling the zoning hearing board how to run their hearings. I mean, I just don't think that should happen.
Okay,
So
so,
let's just call the resolution.
yeah,
We're
we
gonna vote for
can
it or not.
just, okay.
Yeah, well,
Just one,
Jane has a question?
yeah, just, there's a couple more questions. We can call it. But, Jim, If we, yeah, go ahead, Bill. Go ahead.
Would your advice differ if our motion was to televise all our public meetings?
No, I don't think so, not with respect to the zoning hearing
You know,
board.
they're-
And I'd have to
they're
take
public.
I'd have to take a look at the provisions of the planning code with respect to the planning commission and how they run their meetings. Because each individual board is given some parameters for how to run their meetings. And it's pretty clear at section 5.
No, I agree on how to run a meeting, but if it's open to the public, we're just facilitating that. That's-
Jim, what would you recommend we do in this case?
What I recommend you do is that if you know, if it is repeal what we have now, and then see what the zoning hearing board's response is it's out there now. The zoning hearing board is talking about it now. Let's see what the zoning hearing board says. If they come and say, yeah, we want to put our things on television, would you folks fund it? And then we would be making the decision we should make under 907.
Can I just interject? I agree with what Mr. Holmes is saying, and I agree we should repeal it and let Mr. Malone and the zoning hearing board at least give their input to how they feel about it. And then if they come back and say, that's fine, tape it and all that, just like I said with Larry about the library, I'll live with that. But on the other hand, if they come back and say, I don't think we should televise these, that's what I believe that will happen.
Okay, let's,
I know Jane wanted to speak. on that. I
Mr.
have a-
Solicitor, is there a balanced way to do this with, because I remember very well last month that you did have reservations about the resolution. But I do agree with Commissioner Wexler and Commissioner Siegel that I have many, many residents that are not able to make, in fact, it's difficult for people many times to make the zoning hearing boards, and they do affect their neighborhoods and so on and so forth. But is there a way to be balanced so that we are not overstepping, obviously, our position, because we do not want to be telling them what to do. We cannot tell them what to do. But is there a balanced way by repealing this and, as Commissioner Holmes said, have a different approach? I don't know what that is. I'm asking you.
Well, I think it could be as simple as if we repeal this, and then I already have called Bill at one point in time, Bill Malone, I'm talking about, the zoning board solicitor, and say that, and it's quite simply, just as you just said to me, that you have residents that are asking you to have the zoning hearing board meetings videotaped. Bill has, Commissioner Wexler has people that are asking him, and would the zoning hearing board, discuss that and see what their thoughts are on that. And then if they discuss it and they say, yes, they're going to do it, and they come to us, then we fund it, and then we've lived to the spirit of the law.
Hold on.
Yeah.
But is there
Sorry.
is there
Let Jane finish, then I will
a
ask.
way that the Board of Commissioners can present that without
But if, see, the
overstepping
more
our?
you present, I don't like, that's what I'm trying to say to you, is I don't want you presenting.
Okay,
anything,
that's
I really
okay.
would-
That answers it then.
But
Yeah,
if I
if-
may, two things.
go ahead, Commissioner Siegel.
When I pressed this issue a couple of years ago, I was told in no uncertain terms by the Solicitor of Zoning Board, we're not televising the meetings. And I let it go. But there has been a consistent request by residents. They want to see the meetings, and I think it's essential. Second, I completely disagree, and I generally don't disagree with your advice. I disagree here. When you read the code and the commentary, it contemplates exactly what you say, the public coming in and being able to videotape the meetings. That's specifically in the language of the commentary. And in fact, that is why I was very precise with my language, not to suggest anything or to propose anything other than that the meetings be taped. In other words, that we turn on the cameras, the same as if anyone in this room did so at a meeting. And that is not, I do not understand how turning on the cameras is influencing them. If we sat in that room,
Well, because if you,
but if I may,
all right, hold
I
on,
have the
hold on.
floor here, and I would appreciate it. The inference has been made that that is influencing them, or that that is telling them how to run their meetings. Not at all. We are not suggesting that they should handle the meetings differently, that they should use different procedures. All my motion was to turn on the camera. That has nothing to do with how they run their meetings or anything else, any more than turning on the cameras has anything to do with how the Pennsylvania Supreme Court or numerous other bodies conducts their meetings. So I disagree. I disagree with that interpretation.
Let me just respond if I could. I mean, you said that you were told quite simply by the board's lawyer that they wouldn't videotape them.
Right.
So now, if we take this action and say, go ahead and videotape them, when their lawyer says, no, we won't, aren't we telling them what to do? Aren't we then telling them this
No.
is the prior?
All we're
the
doing is
practice and
turning on the
procedure?
cameras. We're not doing that. And in fact, it's a significant difference between saying this is how to conduct your hearings anymore. And we are the body that appoints them. We are the body that funds them. But that does not mean that we control. I don't suggest that we do anything. I don't have conversations with zoning board members about what they're going to discuss. I don't do that. I don't go to their meetings. And that's because I don't want even that appearance. But I don't understand how you can equate turning on those cameras, which are there and which, our taxpayers pay for, is any different from having someone stand in the corner. We could all stand in the corner and film those meetings, and that is not influencing how they operate their meeting. That is not their process. That is not their procedure.
No, I'm not saying
President?
that the filming is.
Could I ask you, it's my motion, I'm going to call it in a second. I just want to make one last comment about it, okay? There is only two things the zoning board is going to do. One of two things. They're going to televise them, or they're not, okay? If they don't want to, they're not going to. And we're going to have an issue in front of us. If they do want to, I would much rather that they make that decision without a resolution from this board telling them to. That's why I'm asking this be repealed. This issue is out there. Does anybody on this board actually think they're not going to televise these meetings after this?
Exactly.
But do this
I do.
without any pressure on them.
Why do you
Let
say
them
that?
make this
I'm
decision.
curious why you say
Please,
that.
he has the
So-
floor.
in the past,
So
they wouldn't.
that's my point, and I've asked the folks to repeal. It's not going to get repealed 9-0. Folks obviously know where I am on this issue. Our solicitor has spoken. I would ask our president to call the resolution.
Okay.
The resolution is to repeal last month's resolution relating to the zoning board.
Okay,
Did we get a second on that?
I second that.
all right. Let's have,
Okay.
please call the roll.
All right. Yes.
Emilio?
Yes.
Yes to,
Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
No.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. McGarity?
Yes.
Mr. Connell?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
No.
Mr. Heilman?
No.
And Mr. Oliva?
yes.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Solicitor, all the members of this board. Dan, you know, of course, none of these things are personal. You're an extraordinary advocate. I know exactly the positions you're talking about. I've had these concerns about the zoning board. Thank you all.
Let's move on.
I have
I have a new business.
I have new
Yeah,
business.
hold on. Commissioner Connell. He has new business.
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to authorize a demolition permit, a historic resource, at 17 Landillo Road, Haverford Township. The permit to replace, replacement of windows and doors at the church structure, the former church structure.
Second.
This is what, this is the recommendations that
The
Stacy
Historic
Maddox, the
Commission
president
just went over.
of the Historic Commission, gave us earlier. This is to replace windows and doors at 17 Landillo, which is the old church property, which is being renovated for a new home as a residence. Please call the roll.
Do we second?
Yeah, I second it.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Mr.
Okay.
D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. McGarity?
Yes.
Mr. Connell?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Heilman?
Yes.
Mr. Oliva?
Yes. Okay, Commissioner D'Amelio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The chief spoke with me about this earlier and asked me to bring this up to new business. The request came in after the agenda was printed, otherwise it would have been an agenda item. A 2013 Ford Expedition marked police car was totaled in an automobile accident on September 26th. The other driver's insurance company assumed fault and paid the township $25,407 for the damages. Obviously, we need to replace the police car. A new 2015 Ford Explorer under CoStar's cost of $26,490 is being considered. The difference is $1,083. So I'd like to make a motion to allow the police department to purchase a new replacement vehicle, a 2015 Ford Expedition Police Interceptor from Springfield Ford under the CoStar's number 121002 for $26,490.
Second.
Motion made and seconded.
Why wouldn't we have the insurance company pay the whole thing?
They won't pay the whole thing.
Because the insurance company pays for the damage to the vehicle so they wreck. What year was the car that was
Okay.
damaged?
It's
Doesn't
depreciated. You don't get
Yeah,
full value.
all right. Hey,
Must have never been.
I would have asked the insurance company for the whole thing.
And they won't do it.
We're actually lucky,
Welcome to my
Ms.
life.
Saul, we're
Yes.
lucky we got what we did.
Okay.
I was impressed.
Okay,
We
I will-
normally don't get anything like that.
Okay.
Because the
It happens in
vehicle's
every
been
car
used,
accident, though, you're ever at.
The vehicle that was damaged was used, so you
Okay.
have to give,
Okay.
appropriation.
That's a remarkable.
Yeah,
good
that is a
settlement
good
as it is.
depreciation, I do agree, but still, we have to buy a new car.
I get you.
Okay.
I have 4 daughters. I know that thing.
So do I.
Okay,
Mr. D'Amelio.
please call the roll.
Yes.
Ms. Saul,
Yes.
Mr. Siegel,
Yes.
Mr. Holmes,
Yes.
Mr. McGarity,
Yes.
Mr. Connell,
Yes.
Mr. Wexler,
Yes.
Mr. Heilman,
Yes.
Mr. Oliva.
Yes, any other new business?
Yes. Mr. President, we have 2 issues that are going to come up in December relating to scheduling next year, and so that the resolution could address it, I wanted to raise them. First, because of the Jewish New Year next year, we would have a conflict that would prevent us from having our regular meeting on either September 14th or 15th, which leaves us with essentially 3 alternatives. We could move our meeting up to the Tuesday before, because Labor Day is the Monday before that, September 8th. We could make our September meeting on Wednesday, September 16th, or move it to the following Monday, September 21st. Those are all potential options. I don't know what the board's preference is, but that way when we do our resolution, because we have to advertise all of our meeting dates for the next year, we can do that without having to do a corrective ad at some point. I have a second issue with regard to that, but I want to do one at a time.
That's the work.
What, the work session,
The regular meeting on
well,
the
September 8th is going to be what, Dan?
No, what I'm saying is that the September 14th, this meeting that would be scheduled on September 14th conflicts with Rosh Hashanah,
Okay.
as does the 15th with the second day, and neither I nor our auditor could attend that night. Therefore, our options would be either to move it up a week and not have the September work session, move it back a day and have the meeting on a Wednesday, or move it to the following Monday. I don't have a preference on any of those. I leave it to the board to discuss, but any of those
Following
would
Monday,
work
the
fine.
21st?
Following Monday.
Yeah, the 21st. I think is the best.
Okay,
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 so
and
Monday
then
the 21st?
yes.
Monday the 21st will be our.
that would move the historic commission, so they could, go a
we'd
week
have to
before
move
that?
the-
They could flip, maybe we could flip with them.
Unless they have any Jewish members.
That would have to be advertised as well.
Okay,
What month are you, what is it?
September.
September.
December
September.
of next year?
Next year, yeah, because we
Okay.
have to do this next month.
2015.
The other issue, sort of near and dear to my heart, that I raised when I first came on the board, is that we have to fix the time of our meetings 1 year in advance so that they're also part of the advertising. At the time, when I came on the board 6 years ago, the meetings were at 8 o'clock, and I had suggested moving them up, and this board did to 7:30, and we then had work sessions at 7. What I would suggest is that next year, we consider moving our regular meetings to 7 p.m. We're not constrained by the charter or anything, we just simply have to advertise them a year, in advance. And I would suggest that we consider moving the meetings to 7. I don't know if we need a formal motion, Mr. Byrne, on that, or how we would do it, because I know we do it by resolution to
Right.
establish the meeting schedule.
I think if you just agree on it, and then we do it by resolution, that would be fine.
That's fine, but I wanted to raise the issue. I know I've talked to some of my colleagues who don't have an objection, but I haven't had an opportunity to raise it
Is it
with every,
December or is it January where we adopt the schedule for the year?
December.
It is December?
Yes, because we have to advertise, including the reorganization
So
and
our
everything.
work session would normally have this schedule on it, and then the following week we'd adopt it. So other than thinking about it now, we don't need to act other than,
About the work
No, but I think
Yeah.
this is important enough that
No,
I'd
no,
bring
no,
it
no,
in new
I'm glad
business.
you brought it up. Yeah, new business. I'm just saying, I don't think we need to act tonight if our work session, one of the things we do at the work session is discuss every
right.
item on the
till
following
work
week's
session.
agenda. And one of those items is going to be the schedule of the hearing. The schedule is A, do we want to move to 7? B, do we want to take the September thing to September 21?
Correct.
All sounds like a plan, and nothing other than adopting a schedule at the first meeting, at the real meeting in December, whatever schedule that schedule says, right?
Yeah.
No ordinance provides for 7:30, right?
I'd like to take into consideration, though, when you go to 7 o'clock and you have an executive session, it pushes that much earlier, too. So if you're coming from the office and you're trying to push it here by 6 o'clock.
I agree with that. That's the problem you run into.
Or even 6:30, sometimes it presses upon it. So I'm,
But even residents that want to
Rather stay
attend,
at
who are
7:30.
cooking dinner, husbands and wives, are trying to get their children, makes it 7:30 gives them enough time, I think, to get here.
if I could have the work session changed to 7:30, that would be great. I'd rather stick with 7:30.
All right, we can discuss that.
Anybody can't make it,
Further at
watch
the
it
work
home
session.
on television.
All right?
There you go. It's televised, right?
Any more new business? Any more? All right.
Oh, I do have, I'm sorry, I do have one. This, I think we'll all agree is important. Not new business, I'm sorry. I'll do it in,
Okay, other business. Other business.
Oh,
Commissioner D'Amelio.
thank you. The police will be able to carry the drug Narcan in accordance with Act 139. The police officers and first responders will be able to carry this life-saving drug. Many of the police chiefs, along with our own police chief, have been fighting for this legislation in order to reduce the death rate that they have been experiencing for heroin and opiate-related deaths. And many of these deaths involve teenagers or young adults. Our own director of paramedics, Jim McCanns, was on the county task force, and the director, Dr. Dickinson from Penn, who I know very well, is a great doctor, helped us lead the fight for this. And I think it is a good step in trying to save lives. So I want to expand on that, Larry. You're a paramedic. You want to?
Yeah, Steve did it justice. I mean, unfortunately, not throughout the Commonwealth and even outside of Pennsylvania, you're seeing more and more heroin-related overdose. And there's been a big push nationally to have police departments carry this life-saving drug. Our paramedics have been carrying it since in Haverford Township since 1976. But a lot of times, police are the first to arrive, and the drug is very easy to administer, and it does literally bring overdoses back to life very quickly. So our police department has started the training. I believe we're almost about 3/4 of the way through. We'll be prepared, and all of Delaware County's police departments are making the same initiative.